So my vacation's wrapping up and I'm sitting in our hotel room and I think we were actually packing and I saw this story come down. And I was like, get me on the next flight. I was so mad. I was like, of course I would miss this. So Governor Jay Inslee does this tour of this massive homeless encampment that had been just festering on First Avenue South under a bridge in Seattle, so WashDOT territory. And the media is there and some of them are just lapping it up. He goes in and he's giving these like, this is a scourge on our society. We cannot allow this. This is a scourge on our state. We should never allow this. These encampments, there is no excuse. And he's talking about how baby steps won't help anymore and they have to be bold. And he's touring this encampment.
And this is just not excusable to allow this in the state of Washington. People live in these conditions. We've got to fight them housing. And we're doing that. But we need new investment to do it. We need to go forward. There's no excuses. We are a better state. The evergreen state is evergreen, not ever homeless.
This session is one of the only times where he has truly prioritized the issue of homelessness, an issue that has gotten exponentially worse since he's been in office. That's indisputable. But now, all of a sudden, he's going around saying this is a scourge on our state when he's allowed it, been part of the problem in allowing it to get to this point. And I was just like, oh my God, these reporters have to push back. They have to push back. They have to ask, Governor, you've been the governor for 11 years. It's gotten worse under your leadership. How can you now just say that baby steps won't work? Baby steps won't work because it got so bad. And the governor's only there because he's pushing this $4 billion housing plan. And he's trying to gaslight and trick people into believing that he's cared about this issue all along, while ignoring the fact that he's been the governor while the issue has gotten so bad. So I'm going to talk more about this on Wednesday, but I issued the governor a challenge on Twitter. I didn't get a response. I know that's not a surprise. I said, I will personally go around the state and help get votes for his $4 billion plan if he will admit unequivocally that he has presided over a massive increase in homelessness and that Democratic policies are to blame for what's playing out on our streets. The drug crisis, the mental health crisis. If he admits those two things, I'll help him get support for his $4 billion proposal. Now, I don't support the proposal, so I would feel really silly having to go around and ask people to vote for it, but I feel confident that I won't have to because the governor will never admit those two things. And I want you to look at it this way. If you're a Democrat who's like, oh, there's a lot of factors at play, If Republicans had had a trifecta in Olympia for the last 7 years, meaning they control the House, the Senate, and the governor's office. If Republicans had controlled the House, the Senate, and the governor's office for the last 7 years, and we saw the exact same situation playing out on our streets, do you think for 1 second the media and Democrats wouldn't point to Republicans and say, you're to blame for this? You're to blame for this? Do you think for 1 second the media wouldn't, with more vigor, go after Republicans demanding what they're going to do? Wouldn't go to a Republican governor who'd been in office for 11 years and say, how can you now just say you want $4 billion when you presided over this? It's nonsensical to me, and I won't even entertain anyone who wants to argue that Democrats would be like, oh, it's not all Republicans' fault. You know, we accept some of the blame and the responsibility. They wouldn't for a second. If not Democrats, then who do we blame for this? Democrats have had control of the governor's office for decades. They have had near universal control of state politics in Olympia for the last decade. And you look at the policies that they've been pushing around crime and substance abuse, and it's all manifested in what we're seeing on the streets. At some point, you have to put blame somewhere. And if not the ruling party that has made the laws, that has made the decisions, that has said, yeah, leave them in place there, yeah, decriminalize drugs here, if not them, then who? And I'm honestly kind of grossed out by someone who would be in a position of leadership, the top position of leadership in our state for more than a decade, who would refuse to just have the humility to accept some level of culpability for what's happened. That's what leadership is about. Leadership is about saying, blame me. Trust me with that problem. Trust me with a solution. but blame me if things go wrong. That's part of being a leader. You accept blame for everything that happens on your watch. And the governor simply lacks the capacity to do that.